Hello and welcome to A Book. I'm Laura. I'm your host. I'm so excited that you are here. Once again, we have an exciting interview for you today. Today, we are going to hear from an author who has written many books, and she has some information to share with you about herself that I think you're really going to find fascinating. Her name is Margery Ellen. Before we get to her, though, I would like for you to hit that like and subscribe button because, as you know, when you do that, it helps the authors. Well, Margery is here with us today, and I can't wait for you to hear from her. Margery, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, I'm so happy that you are here. I want the audience to know all about you. I want them to know this is your very first time ever doing a podcast. Is that right?
Yes, and it's
Uh,
scary.
oh, you have nothing to be afraid of. Everybody's going to love you. I love you, and they're going to love you too. Margery, tell us a little about yourself.
Well, I was born and raised in Canada. I moved to California when I was 15 and then recently came to New Mexico. I wrote my first book when I was 66, just turned 66 years old, and got brave enough when, about 6 months later to self-publish my first book. And
Wow.
that was very scary.
Oh my goodness. So many writers start when they're young, but you didn't. You waited. What made you wait so long? Did you just not have a desire to write prior to that?
No, I tried to take an English comp class in college, and my professor said after the first assignment said, "Go away. You'll never be able to write." And that sort of that put an end to that. But I was going to write an autobiography,
Oh,
and I started writing, and I started writing about places I had been in California, like Yosemite, which is one of my most favorite places.
mm.
And I love to read romance and I love to read shifter books, and I got a little carried away.
You just started writing and the bug
And I
hit, huh?
just started writing, and by the time I had got brave enough to self-publish, I had written 2.5 books.
That is incredible. That is just incredible. So I do know a little something about you. I know that you are not big into technology, right?
No,
And so the self-publishing process can be very overwhelming for somebody who doesn't know much about technology. How did you go about doing that?
a lot of research. I
Mm.
got books from Amazon on how to publish on the Kindle. I don't have anyone to help me here. I live out in the middle of nowhere in New
Wow.
Mexico, and it's not like I've got a bunch of kids around that can say, "Hey, mom, here, this is how you do it," because they're so technical. They know technology so well. So I just had to figure it out all on my own: how to edit, how to uh, do the paragraphs, the chapters, the intros, the whole works. It was all, I'm self-taught.
Oh my, that is exactly how I learned. I never occurred to me that there might be another way to publish. And so I just self-published by hours and hours of YouTube how to do it videos, and a lot of mistakes in the first ones that I uploaded, but I learned, and it was such an overwhelming process for me. And I was tech minded. I was a little bit more tech savvy, and it was still very hard for me. So I applaud you because coming into that, not having, a technical background, not having that background, and then trying to teach yourself, I cannot imagine how many hours you spent pulling your hair out over that.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And how to format all of that stuff. It was like, but there was a book that they've changed things a little now, but there was a book that was very helpful, and it was put out by Kindle, and it explained how to start your chapters and how to do your pages. That was numbering pages for a paperback. That was a nightmare in
Oh,
the
I hear that. I do. I hear that. Oh my goodness. So now you're a pro at it. How many books have you actually published?
21.
21 books. Now, how
And I
many
am
have you written?
almost finished number 22.
Oh my. So these are the books that you've published. Is that how many you've actually written?
Yes.
Oh, starting with none, having been told that go away, you're never going to be a writer. And here you are in your 22nd book getting ready to publish that one. That's incredible, Margery.
I wish I remember who that professor was.
That's right. That is go back with all those books and say, see. Okay. So I would like to know a little bit about your writing process. When you sat down and said, I'm going to write this book about my favorite places, Yosemite, you said was one of them, and then got the bug to write after that. What was your process? Did you outline your stories?
No, I just wrote. I just started writing and never stopped.
No kidding.
I didn't do any outlines.
Mhm.
I may have made a note or two of something that I thought of that I wanted to add later. But other than that, it's not like I put down a beginning, a middle, and an end type of thing. I get my ideas as I'm writing. I'll write about a character, and then I'll think, okay, this is what I'm going to do with that character. And
Oh,
then someone else will come along and I go, okay, those two would make a good connection.
oh
So
my
that's
goodness.
how I did it. That's how I do it.
Wow. So whatever pops in here comes out here.
Yep.
And and so do you use the templates that KDP offers?
No,
Oh, you
I don't
don't?
use any templates. I
No.
just write.
Oh, you're
And
kidding.
I was writing 2 to 3 books a year when I first started. I've slowed down a bit. It's taken me um 6, 8 months to almost wrap up the book I'm working on now.
Oh, okay.
So I just sort of couldn't think of a good storyline, but it comes back. All of a sudden it's like,
Sometimes we
okay,
just
here we
have to
go
take a
again.
break, right? Just have to take a break sometimes. Okay, so that's your process. You sit down. Now, some people, you said you're out in the middle of nowhere, so I doubt you do this, but some people will go to a coffee shop to write or a favorite park or something like that, but you're writing at home, I take it.
I am writing on a tablet most of the time while I'm watching television.
Oh, I don't know if I could do that. I would be so distracted. That just, I have to have it quiet. Some people like to have background music. Some people, I have to have a snack and a drink and quiet. Just quiet. So that's interesting. Yeah.
Now, my husband asked me, he said, what are you doing? I said, I'm writing a book. He says, oh, yeah, right. And then I showed him the first cover.
Oh my
And
goodness.
I don't think he believed me.
Oh,
So
wow.
now he's very supportive.
Okay. And you write mostly what? Fantasy? What do you write mostly?
Paranormal romance, a lot of fantasy. I try to keep a lot of humor. I always try to put some humor in there. The last book I wrote had trolls and fairies and dragons and all kinds of weird people and normal people. They all sort of modern day get mixed together.
Oh my. Okay. All right. So paranormal romance. That's a little bit different. That's sort of a niche within a niche, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
You certainly had a lot to learn. So tell me a little bit more about your books and where you come up with your story ideas.
Well, I started out, like I said, in Yosemite. My first series was called Sierra Nevada. Was my first series, and then I always hated to end a book. When I read, it was like I would fall in love with the character, and I'd go, "No, I don't want it to end. I want it to go on." So my characters come and go throughout my books. So they're always there.
How fun.
I have, that's quite interesting. In fact, I was going through a list last night to find out what books certain characters are in. And I have one character that has been in almost every single one of the books except the first two.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I was having a discussion with someone not too long ago about falling in love with the characters. And there's a part, I think, when you finish a book, when you're done writing it, not well, especially when you're a reader, but when you are done writing that book, you miss the characters. You spent so much time developing them. And while we know that they're not real, they become real to us. They become a part of us. And it gets hard to let that go. And the best way that people can keep those characters alive, of course, is through a series. So are all of your books part of a series?
I have about 3 or 4 series, but like I said, my characters come and go in and out of the
Okay.
books.
So
My dragon, my wonderful dragon series, that's Return of His Kind is not the first book that character comes in. He comes in an earlier, he works for an agency and he comes in earlier, but I don't say anything about what he is or who he is. And
okay.
then I write his story, which is the series of the Dragon series.
So you have an opportunity then to sort of recycle these characters and refine them a little as they go.
Yes, that's what I'm
That's
doing.
that's a very
Recycle, that's a
interesting,
very good way to put it.
yeah, that's a very interesting process. If I were to pick up one of these books in the middle of the series, do I need to start from the first book in order to appreciate the second or third?
Well, yes and no. I think if you picked up one that was at the middle of the series or at the end of the series, you would want to go back and find out about the
Okay.
characters.
Okay. All right. So any standalones? Do you do any standalone writing?
Yes, but it's still similar characters. It's still the same characters.
Still
Yes, I do
recycled characters.
standalone that are not part of a series, but the
Wow.
characters are.
This is very
Does that make
fascinating.
sense?
Yes, it is. And it's very fascinating to me. I'll tell you why, because character development is a lot of work. It is an
Yes.
awful lot of work. And if you've already done that work and you have a character, why not use it again? Even if it's a brand new series, why not use the same character? You don't have to work as hard. So it sounds to me like you're working smarter, not harder as a writer. Yeah, I think that's genius. I'm going to remember that. That's literary genius. And here your professor said you'll never make it. You could go teach him a thing or two, right? Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, we've talked about that. So you got your book published. What was it like the very first time that you held one of your books?
Um, Sort of unbelievable. Sort of, did I really do this?
Ah,
And when I did the paperback, had several copies sent to me, and I gave them to all my friends. And yeah, it was fun. And
yes.
my first 2 books are actually my 2 shortest books. I'm eventually going to combine the 2 books. They should have been combined in the first place.
Oh, okay. So they're more like maybe novellas or something, just
Yes,
short.
yes,
Okay,
they're
short.
just short of being novels,
Yeah.
and but they're the same characters, and it's a continuation. And I don't know why I didn't. I guess that was back when I didn't know what I was doing.
First time writer. My book was very small the first time also. My first book was also garbage. It was terrible. For me, though, it was more about learning the writing process and there's so much more. People think that all a writer does is just sit at a keyboard or a typewriter and ta-da, magic, they have a book, but there's so much more to that process that they don't see. For example, having to upload your book, having to create a cover, having to do all of that work. And then the hard part, the marketing, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the hard part. You gave
That's
all
the
of your
hard.
books away to your friends at first. We all do. We're all excited and we give our books away. And then we say, well, now what? So what was that like for you?
Well, most of the books are sold. I do books. I go to book signings. I travel
Oh,
around and sell my books. I go to crafts fairs. We have really nice winery nearby, and she has 2 crafts fairs every year, and
Oh,
I go and I sell my books there. They're very popular. People come back and say, "Well, I got this book," or they'll come back and say, "I can't remember which one I bought."
oh. And then so of course they want more, right?
Yes,
They
they
want
do.
more. How
They
exciting
do.
for you. Yeah. Craft fairs.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought much about selling books at craft fairs, but that sounds like a good idea. Set up a booth and have your books on
Hmm.
display, especially with as many books as you have
Yes.
and within
Well,
the same type of
I make
genre.
bookmarkers. I make ribbon bookmarkers to go with each of the books
Oh, fascinating. How do you make those?
with ribbons and charms and various different items.
Okay.
Um,
All right. So do you sell those separate or they go with the book when they buy a book?
I I let some of them go with the book. If someone buys 2 or 3 books, they get one free, and then I sell the others.
Okay. All right. Ah, you're just so talented. You have all sorts of talents. I had no idea. That's neat. Tell me about the editing process for you.
That was really hard. Trying to find someone that would edit for me. I had a friend, she passed away after the about the 4th book, but she was very, very good. And I've had a couple of different friends that have offered that the reason the English comp teacher didn't like me was because I was terrible at English.
I doubt that.
So, but now I basically use a couple of programs that go through and correct your spelling and your different
Yeah.
uses of your words. And
I know so many writers use Grammarly. Do you use Grammarly?
yes, I do. I just
Okay.
started using Grammarly. I
Yeah,
had a
yeah.
friend that she edited my books for me, and she used Grammarly to edit them for me. So
To
I figured,
edit.
well, I may as well just do it myself.
Okay. So do you have anybody beta read the book before you send out the final
Yes,
copy?
I have several people around the country that I'll send them a copy, but they don't proofread it for me. They just read it and say, "Gee, I like it." But that
Oh,
it's not something that they say, "Well, you made a mistake here." They're almost, it's like, "Well, I don't want to hurt your feelings if you make a
yeah.
mistake," type of thing.
Yeah, and that's the whole point in hiring an editor, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
usually our beta readers are friends or people who are just excited to get a free book. And like you said, they don't
Yes.
want to hurt your feelings. But that constructive criticism can be so important, I think. I want somebody to look at my books before they go out and say, you might consider changing this, or have you thought about that? Or I found a mistake. I want them to tell me those things. I had somebody beta read, and I think I assumed because I was new to writing, I assumed that they would also do the editing, and they didn't. And she sent it back and said, "It looks great. It's all wonderful. It's perfect." And I published a book, and there was a glaring error. It transcended just it was more than just like a typo or something like that. I had used the wrong name, and this was a fact. This was a factual piece. So I didn't know that. The book went out, and somebody that I did not know at the time ran kind of in the same circle of friends that I had, read the book and messaged me and said, "Hey, you have a very glaring mistake in your book." That person is now one of my dearest friends and my editor. She edits books. So I'm so grateful and so pleased to have somebody in my life that will do that. But I'm a real big believer that we should always get a second set of eyeballs on things because as you well know, as you're staring at that screen, we go blind to our own mistakes.
Yes, we do. So
Some
what one of the things that I do is I have my computer read the book to me. I find a lot of mistakes that way.
Yes, okay. Does Grammarly do that for you?
Um, no, but I'll sit with a uh paperback copy of the book, an edit book, and
Mm-hmm.
I will have my computer read the book to me as I follow it in the book, and That's how I find a lot of
A
mistakes.
lot. So what I do is I will make an audio book of my book, not one that I'm going to send out for public consumption because it's
Right.
the quality isn't that good, but I want to hear it. I want to hear the tone and the all of it before I send it out. And you're absolutely 100% correct. Hearing it versus seeing it is a totally different thing, and we can catch so many mistakes. That didn't sound quite right. That's not how people would really speak, or what? I missed a word, just little things like that.
Well, I have when I have it played back to me in Windows, every once in a while, like I'll get a foreign voice with an accent that will read a part, and it's like, whoa, where did that come from?
It
But
adds
it
a little
actually,
something. Are
after a
any
while, it adjusts to the story, and it actually uses in in collections of your voice, and it's really, sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't, but when it does, it's a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So are any of your books on audio?
No, I wish they were. Everybody
Oh,
that I see that, oh, I just don't have time to read a book, I love to
yeah.
listen to them. So
Maybe
yeah, I'd
that's the
love to
next
have
step.
them on
It's
audio.
none of mine are either, and it's really irritates my husband because he is a truck driver and he would consume about 100 audiobooks a year driving down the road. I'm not kidding. And he said, well, you really need to get your books on audio because he doesn't have time to read them. I
And
think
if
that's
he's a
the
truck
world we live
driver, he
in.
definitely a truck driver would need something to listen to.
Yes,
Yes,
yeah.
I wish I've thought about, considered lately just doing a narration of a book, but
Hmm.
I don't know.
Hmm. Yeah. And that's a whole nother beast. That's one that I personally have not explored very much, although I would like to. It's something I would like to do. Yeah, interesting. Well, so you had nobody to help you.
Nobody.
You learned as you went, and I'm sure every book is different. Every single time you go through the process, there's some little anomaly. And so you've had a lot to learn because you have so many books out there.
Yes, I have.
But I do know that there are people out there who say, I don't want to learn all of that. They just want to turn it over to a company that will do that for them. And this channel is actually sponsored by Victory Vision Publishing. And what they do, they're not a publishing company in the traditional sense. They help people self-publish. So they're more of a publishing coaching company. And they will do things like the layout for somebody. They'll help with cover creation. They do the editing. So there's many facets that is involved in writing a book. And we are going to take a break and we're going to hear from Victory Vision. And then when we come back, I would like to show everybody your book. So we will be back in just a moment. Hey everyone, are you stuck trying to figure out how to finish writing or publishing your book? Well, let me tell you about Victory Vision Publishing. Victory Vision Publishing is there to help you cross that finish line. They have package plans that are tailor-made just for your individual needs. They have learning opportunities where you can discover ways of overcoming some obstacles that you might have. Adam Fleming is a wonderful CEO, and they are a fully staffed team just waiting to help you edit, lay out, maybe make a cover for your book. Go ahead and join their email list and check out some of the wonderful books and wonderful authors that they have already helped get published. Yep, Victory Vision is definitely the way to go if you feel stuck and just want some support in getting your book out to the world. You're only one book away from changing the world. victoryvision.org. Okay, we are back. We've been talking with Margery Ellen, and she has been telling us all about her fabulous writing career. This came at a later point in your life, which I think is so inspiring, Margery, because you know what it means is that you're never too old to do something new, ever.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, we just keep on learning. As long as we keep on learning and keep on contributing, then life is grand, I think. That's how I feel about it. Well, I would like to show everybody your book. I know you have several, but we're going to show them one for now on your Amazon. And this is Last of His Kind. Is this the last book that came out?
No,
Oh, no,
no,
this
this
is,
is,
this says 2018. Okay. So Last of His Kind, this was one that you did in 2018. And I am so impressed with this cover. Who creates your covers for you? Do you do these?
that particular cover was, my first covers were done by a lady in Texas that, she started doing covers about the same time I started writing, and now she's
Oh,
gotten so busy that I'm gonna have to start learning how to do that myself. But
okay.
I picked the model, and same model on all three books, so
And
all
you
three
have,
Dragon, the
I went
trilogies.
over to your authors, about your author here on Amazon, and you have several other books in here. So these covers then were created by this person that you were telling us about.
Yes,
And you are now are you going to go a different
I'm
route
I'm
then?
using a different person now.
Oh, you are. Okay, I
Yeah,
see.
after the Dragon series. Well, after right there, that one there. You were just
The
on it
Enchanted Elephant.
with the tattooed gentleman. That was the last one she did for me. And then I changed to another book
Okay,
person. That one.
okay. This one here, Love's
Yes.
Revenge. Okay.
And
So
that
then,
is book one of Special Protection Inc.
oh,
Now he originally came to be in Return of His Kind.
okay. So this is one of the recycled characters that you were mentioning.
Yes. It was
Okay.
very short in that book, but he now is much better.
Very, very fascinating. Very fascinating. Okay, well, Margery, we're going to go ahead and leave a link to all of your books in the description of this video, so people will be able to find your books and read them. And I'm intrigued. I love the covers. I think that there's some great continuity there, which is really important. So I have some questions. If you were going to give advice to somebody, to a new reader a new writer in particular, about the writing process, what would you tell them?
Don't let anyone talk you out of it. Just go with what you feel in your heart.
And just do it. Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah. Okay. And if they are a little nervous about that technical process, what would you then tell them?
Um, well, I don't know if I would tell them to do it the way I did it. That was pretty tough. But to try and find someone to give them some help on editing and how to publish.
Yeah, yeah, and make the process go a little bit more smoothly, I guess, for
Yes.
them. Yeah, there's always a tip or a trick out there that we can benefit from if we just had somebody who would tell us, "Hey, why don't you try this?" Something else that I do know about you is that you are involved in groups, writing groups, authors groups, things like that.
Hmm.
So I think, and this is just me personally, I think there's a tremendous benefit in being a part of an author's community or a writer's community or something like that. Do you find that to be true?
Yes. You get a
So,
lot of ideas and a lot of encouragement.
okay.
If you're new at it, you get a lot of encouragement.
I think for the most part, the people in the writing community, they're so generous. They are. They're very
Yes.
generous with their information and they want to see other writers succeed. I really, that's been my experience. I know some people out there can be mean and stingy, but my experience with the writing community is that most people are and they're excited for you when you have a book come out. They're excited because as you have been sharing that process with them, and then it finally comes out, oh, it's here. I can't wait to read it. I don't know. I think it's just, there's something to be said because writing is such a lonely process.
Yes, it
It,
is.
it's a one-man show, really. You're sitting there, nobody can write your thoughts for you. I mean, certainly you can have a ghostwriter or a co-writer and things like that, but the actual physicality of writing is a very lonely job. Other people might sit in an office or go to work somewhere where they have coworkers and they have shared goals and all of that wonderful stuff. But as a writer, we don't. And being a part of a community of people that encourage you and keep you motivated, I think is just priceless.
It is. It is.
Yeah. What's your, I don't know, I don't want to say favorite thing, but I think what benefit does being part of a writer's community have for you?
Oh, gee, I don't know. They sharing, I guess.
Just the sharing? Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's
And
wonderful.
being part of a writer community, that's sort of new for me. I'm just trying to get into it as much as I can to try and promote my books and well, get out there.
Yes, marketing is a whole nother beast, isn't it?
Yes.
Promoting, marketing, all of these things, being on this podcast, for example, we just did an episode, I think it was last week. I'm staring at my calendar if you wonder why I'm looking over there, with Jody Sperling, and he is, in my opinion, one of the absolute best marketing geniuses. He has a podcast also on Substack, and I mean, he really understands how to dial things in for those search engine optimizations on Amazon. So using keywords in your book description, most of us want to describe the book, right? But
Hmm.
nobody's out there searching. Amazon basically is a search engine, and people are not out there searching for your book. They're searching for specific things. I want a book about vampires, or I want a murder mystery. And so they might type in those types of keywords. And if those keywords are not in your description, they're not going to find your book.
Right.
And I had never given that very much thought. I was more concerned about explaining what the book was about than driving people to that book so they could read it. And after listening to Jody, I've decided to change my approach a little bit. So we'll go ahead and leave that little link to that video in the description too, so people can go find that because I think it's very beneficial. But there's so much to learn. There's just so much to learn. And you're doing it. I mean, the podcasting, you've never done this before, so that's
No.
something you've done. And all of these little things, going to the craft fair, all of these little tiny things, they add up to the big picture of marketing. And marketing is a bulk of what we do. It's
Right.
a lot. Yeah. It is so much work. And
Well, and I do a lot of research for the books as well. I did a book
oh,
called The Enchanted Elephant, which is one behind me, and researched India
mm,
from top to bottom so that there is a lot of factual um, information in the book.
oh, what is your research process like?
Looking up the country, looking up the different areas. The Enchanted Elephant goes back to the early 1900s in the East India Company when everybody was being treated so badly.
Mm.
And it's just, I've learned so much of history that, and then he's the character in my new book that I'm finishing up.
Really? Oh,
Yeah,
so so okay. When does that one come out? Your new one? Do you have any idea yet?
it's not finished yet.
It's okay. You don't know. Okay, well, any ideas? You have a ballpark idea?
Um, Gee, I hope by before September,
Oh my goodness.
because by the time I get it edited and get the cover made and go through all the process of getting copies to edit and go through all of that, it's so time consuming.
It is, yeah. Again, I think people have this misconception that as soon as you type the end, the book is done, and it's not. That's the beginning. For us, that is the beginning of it. That's the writing's the easy part. It's everything that comes after the writing.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
Yeah, but it's fun. It is fun, and it's exciting when other people read your book and give you feedback and tell you how much they loved it and just enjoy the story. That's why we write. What an
That's why
ex
we write, and I
that's
enjoy it. I love
Yeah,
it.
that's why we write.
I love coming up with new ideas, and I'll be in the middle of writing a book and it'll go a totally different way. It all blends in and it creates another whole dimension.
Oh my goodness. You're very creative. Your mind is very, very creative. Yeah. How do you stay motivated?
Well, I haven't been for the last couple of months. I just kind of you know, haven't done a whole lot, but once I get back into it, that, you know, once I get a new idea and then I get all encouraged again and enthusiastic and start writing again.
Yeah.
In fact, I've already got ideas for the next one.
So once you have an idea, do you struggle at all with writer's block, or do you just, it's there and you just keep going until it's all out?
I There's times when I struggle with writer's block, but that's when I call a friend of mine and say, "Here, read this. What do you think?"
Mm.
She sort
Ah,
of goes, "Yeah, she's written a couple of things for me and said, well, try it this way." And she's not a writer. She wants to be, and I hope that she is someday.
oh,
But yeah, we have fun doing it together.
oh,
She lives in Missouri, so
yeah.
it's
My friend
it's a
and I,
ways.
we write together. In fact, the last book that came out, I wrote while I was trucking. I was in the truck, and of course, I can't physically write while I'm in the truck. So she stays up late at night, and I drove late at night, and I would call her and sort of dictate my thoughts and ideas about this book to her. And she put it out in paragraph form, and then I would look it over and approve or disapprove, of it. And that's how my last book was written. And since then, in fact, she just published, I think, a couple days ago, her book just came out, her new one. But as I'm driving, I said to her, "Hey, I think you should write a book." And I started giving her book ideas, and she's written two books as a result of me giving her those ideas. And we like to do a lot of that together. It's fun to have a writing partner. It really
Yes,
is.
it is.
Bounce those
Yes, it
ideas
is.
off of, and we laugh. It's just fun. I just enjoy every minute of it. Any
Yes, it is.
parting words of advice that you would give a brand new writer before we leave?
If you want to write, just go ahead and do it. There's lots of information out there that can help you. There are a lot of people out there that can help
Yes.
you,
Oh,
which I didn't know when I started, but I do now.
yeah. There's always somebody who's willing to help. One more time, we're going to go ahead and pull up Margery's Amazon page here so that you can, this is Margery, and these are some of her books, and we're going to leave a link in the description so that you will know where to go to find those. But Margery, it has been such a pleasure to have you here. I'm so glad that you decided to take your maiden voyage into the world of podcast guesting with me. I feel so honored and so privileged that you decided to choose me. But and I'm just thrilled that you did this, and I know that the world is going to be excited to get to read your books now that they've gotten to know a little bit more about you. Thank you
Well,
so
I
much for
appreciate
being
it.
here.
Like this is a first for me, and it's been interesting. That's for
Oh,
sure. It's been a
yeah.
learning experience.
Yeah. Well, and you've done such a wonderful job. I appreciate every minute of you being here today.
Thank
You've
you.
been listening to Margery Ellen, and she got to talk to you today about her writing process and her books, and you got to know a little bit more about her. What a unique and fascinating woman. I hope we get to have her on our show again sometime. In the meantime, thank you for giving up a portion of your time to be with us today. As always, thank you for listening, and God bless.